Good morning, everybody. It's Bobby Hesley. Thought I would do a quick, I don't know how quick it'll be, but thought I would do a video sharing my thoughts on last night's debate. I was actually going to do a video last night before the debate. Obviously, I was at the Trump Detroit headquarters. We always have debate watch parties there. We got 2 more. If anybody's ever interested, hit me up. You can come down to the Trump Victory headquarters in Detroit, the official presidential headquarter campaign in Detroit, and we can have a debate party. We have snacks, we have refreshments, we have food there. It's a blast, guys. Good morning, Darcy. Good morning, Ginny Mary. So I was going to do a video before the debate last night outside of the Trump headquarters like I do normally. Hey, Mark. But I was just really tired yesterday. I had a really, really long day yesterday. So I wasn't at my sharpest. And after watching that hour and a half debate, didn't help my energy levels. Let's just say that. So I feel like I owe you guys a video. So here's the first thing I want to touch on. Everybody knows by now that I'm a practicing Catholic. And I am here this morning to take back that phrase from the grips of Kamala Harris. This notion of being a practicing Catholic, which is probably one of the most famous lines of the debate last night, other than the fly that landed on Vice President Pence's head. I looked over at my friend Ty, man. As soon as that fly landed on his head, I said, oh, you know they're going to run with that. We got memes for the next 20 generations now with that fly that was on his head. You know, and I kid you not, guys, as soon as that fly landed on his head, within a minute, I am not exaggerating, Ty will back me up on this, within a minute of that fly landing on his head, one of our friends showed a snapshot of one of his friends on Facebook saying, oh, look at this fly that just landed on a piece of S. They were all over that, guys. But anyway, this notion, this lie that came out of the teeth of Kamala Harris, that Joe Biden is a practicing Catholic. Well, number one, I think we all know that Joe Biden is not a practicing Catholic. He's not. And in fact, I'm going to take it a little bit further. The Catholic apologist in me, the RCIA instructor in me, the Catholic evangelist in me will not allow Kamala Harris to get away with saying that Joe Biden is a practicing Catholic. Because not only is Joe Biden not a practicing Catholic, but I would actually argue that Joe Biden is not even Catholic. I'm going to say what nobody else is comfortable or willing or able to say. Not Vice President, Vice President Joe Biden, number 46 wannabe, is not a practicing Catholic. And I made a couple of memes last night to that effect. One of which was to say that if Joe Biden is a practicing Catholic, why was he denied Holy Communion? And there's an article that I linked in the comments saying that practicing Catholics are not denied Holy Communion. But why was Joe Biden denied Holy Communion? I'll tell you exactly why Joe Biden was denied Holy Communion several times. Is because not only is Joe Biden not a practicing Catholic, the boy ain't even Catholic, folks. And Catholics, non-Catholics, are not allowed to receive Holy Communion. Because when you receive Holy Communion, when you receive the sacrament of the Eucharist, you are saying with your mind, body, and soul that I accept all of the teachings of the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. I accept all the theological teachings, okay, like the real presence of Jesus in the Eucharist, all the Marian dogmas that we have around our Blessed Mother, the existence of purgatory, apostolic succession, all these different tenets of the faith that we hold. You're saying that you accept those, but you are also saying that you accept all of the Catholic Church's moral teachings about how we are to live. Not only about what we are to believe, but about what we are to live. And that includes abortion. Now, for those of my followers and friends who are not Catholic, I don't want this video to alienate you. I don't want you to feel like I'm trying to start some kind of doctrinal squabble with this, because there's a lot that we don't have in common, Catholics and non-Catholics. I'm sure you guys have problems with lots of beliefs that we have. Maybe you think we worship Mary, this weird thing of us praying for the dead. We believe in purgatory, all these things that we believe that you may not agree with. And I promise you guys, when my show launches, we're going to talk about all those things civilly. We're going to be scholars and gentlemen about it. But there is one thing that we are united on, shoulder to shoulder, and that is the pro-life issue. I believe that the Catholic Church is the most pro-life organization on the planet. And when I say pro-life, I'm not only talking about anti-abortion, okay? It's one thing to be anti-abortion, which a lot of people are. It's one thing to oppose the brutal practice of abortion. But the Catholic Church goes further than that. The Catholic Church is not only pro-life, the Catholic Church is pro-baby. The church is pro-baby. So not only does the church prohibit abortion, the church also prohibits artificial contraception. So we take it a lot further than lots of other people go when it comes to the sanctity of life, okay? But that's a whole nother issue. But I argue that Joe Biden is not Catholic because practicing Catholics are not denied the sacrament of the Holy Eucharist. And as a matter of fact, Joe Biden, because of who he is and what he believes, is in a state of excommunication. I'll give you a quick little lesson in Latin. It's called late sententia excommunication. And according to the Code of Canon Law, Canon 1398, it says that anybody who procures an abortion is automatically and immediately excommunicated. Now, for those of you who are watching who may have had abortions, I want you to know that God's love and mercy extends to you, that you can receive his forgiveness and reconciliation through the sacrament of confession. Don't feel like a castaway. That can be fixed. All you have to do is go to confession, and God will forgive you of that sin, and you will be restored to unity with the church. But late sententia excommunication, all it means is that you have gone outside of the bonds of God's church, outside of which there is no salvation. In other words, think of an airplane that is plummeting, right? Think of an airplane that's crashing, that's steadily losing altitude. And you'll hear the sensors that start to go on. They will say, pull up, pull up, pull up. In other words, you're entering into dangerous terrain. The closer you get to the earth, the more those airplane sensors start buzzing and going off. Because the navigation system is designed to warn you when you're about to crash and burn. That's what excommunication is. It's not some cruel, get the hell out of here, we're kicking you out, you no good, sinner. What it means is that you have gone outside the bounds of Holy Mother Church. And that's the church's way of saying come back. That's the church's way of saying pull up, come back to the church. Just think of that analogy when you think of excommunication, okay? But the fact is, when somebody gets an abortion, that's not the only thing that Canon 1398 covers. Anybody who assists in that abortion is also guilty of the abortion. The scumbag boyfriend who wants to have his fun with a woman and not be a man and rise to the occasion and be a man and raise his kid, that would rather kill his kid, that drives his girlfriend to get the abortion. Oftentimes these men are much older than these younger girls and they take advantage of them. He's guilty of the abortion too. The anesthesiologist is guilty of the abortion that puts the woman under. The abortion doctor is guilty of it. The lady answering the phones, hello, Planned Parenthood, how may we kill you today? She's guilty of abortion. Anybody who has a hand in that process is what's known as formal cooperation in evil. And they are all guilty. So why do you think, when people are apprehended for drive-by shootings, how come the shooter's not the only one arrested? If somebody were to pull a drive-by shooting and they arrest those people, why is the shooter not the only one that's arrested? Why do they arrest the guy who drove? I mean, he didn't pull the trigger, did he? No, he didn't pull the trigger. But he set up the condition to make it possible for the gunman to pull the trigger, right? He engaged in what's called formal cooperation in the evil of that drive-by. So I also blame legislators. So not only do the nurses, the anesthesiologists, the abortion doctors, the scumbag boyfriends that drive their girlfriends or husbands to get the abortions, not only are they guilty, but so are these evil legislators, these evil Democrat legislators that I'm sick of people voting for blindly because of these identity politics issues, these people that make abortion legal, these people that fight to keep it legal, they are also guilty of every single abortion that happens. Because that is formal cooperation in evil. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, she's not Catholic, from what I understand, but Joe Biden has cooperated in the legislation of abortion and making that legal. So because of the way he votes for abortion, because of everything he did to assist Barack Obama for those 8 years to engage in abortion, he is not even, not only is he not a practicing Catholic, he's not even a Catholic. And that's why he can't receive the body, blood, soul, and divinity of our Lord Jesus Christ. Because he is a legislative baby killer. And don't think he'll be any different when he becomes a president. So I'm going to read a quick quote. I brought some notes to kind of further explain why Joe Biden is not a practicing Catholic. It says that any Catholic accomplice in the act of procuring an abortion, even though not specifically mentioned in Canon 1398, receives the same penalty of automatic excommunication. Here, an accomplice is one who assists in such a way that the heinous act would not have been committed without his assistance. Therefore, the doctor who performs the abortion, the nurse who assists in the procedure, the boyfriend who encourages the abortion, and the parent who pays for the abortion are all accomplices, guilty of the act, and thereby receive the just penalty. And that's from Canon 1329, Section 2. So Joe Biden is not a practicing Catholic. I don't care what Kamala Harris says. He's not a practicing Catholic. And that's the part of the debate that I feel like I needed to address most, because I will not have my Catholic faith misrepresented by people like Kamala Harris, who can't even get the facts right about whether or not Tupac is still alive. Okay? According to her, Tupac is the greatest rapper alive today. Wow, that's a memo. I thought he died when I was 15. So that's the point I wanted to address. And guys, all these Catholic politicians, and I put Catholic in quotes, that support abortion, just know that they are not Catholic. They think they are, but they're not. They're in a state of excommunication because they are formal cooperators in the evil of abortion. Take Nancy Pelosi, Justice Sotomayor, Kathleen Sebelius, who was the attack dog of the Obama administration that persecuted the church with the HHS mandate. Think of the Kennedys. Think of John Kerry. Think of the Cuomos up in New York. None of those snakes are Catholics. They are not. They can think they're Catholic all day, but they are not Catholic, because they are hostile towards all the teachings of the church that are meant to proclaim the dignity of all human life. They are the biggest enemies of those teachings, and they have no right to receive our Lord Jesus Christ in the Eucharist, who is the author of life. Okay? So I wanted to clear that up. So that's kind of the first point I wanted to talk about. Second point, if I haven't said enough already. The second point is Stockholm Syndrome. Do Black Americans suffer from Stockholm Syndrome? What is Stockholm Syndrome? Has anybody ever heard of that before? I'm working to change this, but I believe that a large number of Black Americans suffer from Stockholm Syndrome with the way that we have blindly voted Democrat for the last 60 years. All the abuse and all the racism and all the destruction that the Democrat Party has put the African American community through, it still amazes me that we still vote so blindly Democrat. And I believe it's a condition called Stockholm Syndrome. For those of you that aren't familiar with Stockholm Syndrome, I'll read a quick definition, which you could easily find online. It says Stockholm Syndrome is a condition in which hostages develop a psychological alliance with their captors during captivity. Emotional bonds may be formed between captors and captives during intimate time together, but these generally are considered irrational in light of the danger or risk endured by the victims. The term was first used by the media in 1973 when 4 hostages were taken during a bank robbery in Stockholm, Sweden. Now get this, guys. The hostages defended their captors after being released and would not agree to testify in court against them. So think about that. Guys, I can't tell you how many arguments I get into with my fellow blacks about why they should not vote Democrat. I can't tell you how many people defend Democrats after everything Democrats have done to us. Why? Why do we continue to reward the bad behavior? I do believe, this is going to shock everybody. This may be the first time I've said this publicly. I think I've said it before, but maybe not. I, Bobby Hesley, do believe that systemic racism exists. I really do. I believe that the black population was unjustly incarcerated, that we were herded in cages like animals, that we received life prison sentences for nonviolent offenses. Could you imagine you commit a felony 3 times and it's a nonviolent felony? But because it's your 3rd time committing that felony, because it's your 3rd strike, that you go to prison for the rest of your life right next to people that killed kids, right next to people that raped and murdered people, that, oh yeah, I got caught with crack 3 times, so now I got to go to jail for the rest of my life. And it was actually legislation that made crack receive a harsher punishment than cocaine. Because crack is a broken down, diluted version that allows you to get higher quantity, because crack dealers, drug dealers, they want to be able to sell high quantities to their poor black clients that can't afford the pure coke that a lot of, that white kids in college like to do. But that's too expensive for them. So they break it down into crack. Did you guys know that the 94 crime bill legislated that crack received a harsher penalty than cocaine? Black people do crack, or did crack back in the day, at disproportionately higher numbers than cocaine because crack is cheaper. That bill was targeted to black drug addicts to put them in jail for the rest of their lives. Do you know who the author of that bill was? Do you know who the champion of that bill was? Ex-Vice President and ex-Catholic Joe Biden. That's who. That is systemic racism that pisses me off, man. It really does, man. There's no excuse for that. It has no business being in America. That is Jim Crow legislation transplanted into our modern era. There are so many black families that have been destroyed by harsh prison sentences that were pushed by Joe Biden. And yet, I can't tell you how many black people I encounter that defend this man, that still defend him. I can't even remember, I can't even recall all the racist things that this man has said. Blatant racist things that he said about us, guys. Blatant racist. Saying that Obama's the first clean, articulate, mainstream black guy. It's like out of a storybook, man. He said that back in 2008. You ain't black if you don't support me. There's no diversity of thought in the black community. I wouldn't have been able to have been sequestered in my basement unless some black woman was stocking the grocery shelves. Poor kids are just as talented as white kids. The guy is an unabashed racist, folks. How much more racist does he have to be to get you to see that? He gave the eulogy at Robert Byrd's funeral. Senator Robert Byrd, who was a KKK Grand Wizard. He gave the eulogy at his funeral and said that he inspired him and that he was his mentor. Can you believe that? He eulogized a KKK Grand Wizard at his funeral during the presidency of the first black president and called this man his mentor. This is Joe Biden, folks. This is who he is. He said that he doesn't want integration in schools because he doesn't want his kids to go to a racial jungle. This is Joe Biden, folks. So if you believe in systemic racism, don't vote for Joe Biden. You are voting for systemic racism. You are promoting systemic racism. If you vote for Joe Biden and if you defend Joe Biden, you really are. Donald Trump, on the other hand, he's gotten all kind of awards, NAACP awards, Ellis Island Award. There's pictures you can find of him standing with Rosa Parks and Muhammad Ali and Don King, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton. Everybody loved Donald Trump before he ran for office, before he became a Republican. Everybody used to love Donald Trump, black people included. Donald Trump and Scarface were both icons in the black community before Donald Trump ran for president. Now all of a sudden he's a racist. He's not a racist, folks. Look at everything he's done for black people. So we got to get over this Stockholm Syndrome, guys. We got to stop voting for the party that enslaved us hundreds of years ago. We got to stop voting for the party that after they lost control over us in slavery, intimidated us with the KKK, oppressed us with Jim Crow legislation, oppresses us with welfare state legislation that breaks up our families, that holds us down, that keeps us from reaching our potential, that keeps us dependent on government, that defiles us, that degrades us, that kills our ambition, kills our entrepreneurship, because we can't exceed a certain income or we will lose our government benefits. We got to get off. We got to stop voting for the systemic racism that destroys us, guys. We got to stop voting for these white liberals, these racist white liberals who think that all we're good for are getting us abortions and giving us welfare benefits so that we can be just enough, we can have just as much of a population to where they can get a lot of votes from us. And they keep us at 13%. They have kept us at 13% for half a century. Why do you think we're still minorities? Black people should not be called minorities anymore. We should have long stopped being minorities. But why are we still stuck at 13%? I'll tell you why we're stuck at 13%. Because we've lost 20 million babies since Roe versus Wade. And that has been strategic population control started by Planned Parenthood, which was founded by a eugenicist that they just recognized 2 months ago by removing Margaret Sanger's name from their main clinic in Manhattan, specifically because of her eugenics that targeted people of color. You guys remember when they were getting rid of Uncle Ben and Aunt Jemima and getting rid of the Washington, they were doing all this racial comeuppance. They felt that the best way to respond to George Floyd and all this racial tension was to basically, invade the corporate world and rid it of all things black. Well, another person that did their inventory, other than Uncle Ben and Aunt Jemima and Eskimo pies, was Planned Parenthood. And they said, you know what? Yeah, Margaret Sanger wasn't a vowed eugenicist. She was racist. We better take her name off our clinic since everybody else is doing it. It's funny how they're still doing all the abortions, though. They're still killing black people. Did you know that in New York, more babies are aborted than are freaking born? Until they stop aborting the babies, I don't care if they take her name on or off. They might as well put her name back on because they're still living out her mission of targeting the inferior population. So let's get over this Stockholm Syndrome, guys. Let's quit voting Democrat. Let's try something new. And I'm not saying that the Republican Party is the answer to all of our problems, but it's definitely part of the solution. Trump is putting things in place that I believe is going to bless us black Americans for many generations to come, but he needs 4 more years to solidify the gains that he's made for us. So give him another 4 more years. He's proven himself to you. Joe Biden's been in the game for 47 years, and all he's done is lock us up, make racist comments about us, and kill our babies at disproportionate numbers through his legislation and abortion activism. And that's why he's not Catholic, and that's why he doesn't receive communion. So let's move on. I don't want to go too long on this video. Third thing I want to talk about, the polls. Guys, don't let these polls discourage you. I've been talking a lot to my conservative friends lately that are very worried about the country, and they're really discouraged and worried about these polls. They feel like Trump really hurt himself in the last debate. They feel like Trump basically, and I agree, he was interrupting too much and he was very boorish, and I think he'll clean that up in the next 2. I hope he does. But guys, these same polls that have you afraid and discouraged and worried are the same polls that said that Hillary had a 90% chance of winning back in 2016. You guys got to realize polls are not what they used to be. Back in the day, polls used to be designed to reflect public opinion. Now polls are designed to influence public opinion and sentiment, right? So just don't fall for it again, guys. And I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't worry about these polls, okay? Because 4 years ago, the left and the media, I believe that they manipulated themselves. I want you to think about this. They're so used to using these polls to influence and manipulate public opinion that they don't realize that they are the only ones that are being influenced and manipulated by these polls. And here's what I mean by that. I want you to think back, guys, to 2016. Think of the morning after the election. Remember how everybody was just absolutely shocked and devastated and just lost their minds and flipped their wigs that Donald Trump won? Nobody could believe it. They couldn't believe that Donald Trump won. Why? Because they started believing their own BS. That's why. They started believing their own polls that Hillary was that far ahead. Trump wiped the floor with her. And it shocked them because they truly convinced themselves through their fake fraudulent polls that Trump was going to win. And I believe that they got themselves so worked up under these false pretenses that Hillary was going to win based on all these polls, that's why they couldn't let it go for 3 years, guys. Think about everything they put Trump through for 3 years. Think about all the taxpayer dollars that were wasted, all the government resources that were wasted, all the intelligence agency resources that were wasted, CIA, FBI, National Security Agency, Senate investigations. Think of all those resources that could have been devoted to fighting terrorism. Think of all those government resources, all those intelligence, law enforcement resources that could have been devoted to breaking up human sex trafficking rings. But instead, they're wasting and squandering it on this fake Russian hoax. Why? Because that was the only way that they could save face. They said, well, our polls said that Trump was going to lose by 90%. So the only way he possibly could have won would have been if the Russians helped him. He got some help from Pootie Poo. Vladimir Putin helped him. That was the fabrication that they had to come up with. And that's the thing about lying, guys. That's why you should always tell the truth, because when you lie, you have to think of other lies to cover up each lie that you tell. And then you got to think of other lies to cover up those lies and so on and so forth to the point where you're telling so many lies that you start to forget the lies you tell, you start contradicting yourself, and now you get busted. You know, so they had to come up with a second lie to explain their fake polls. And they ran with that lie for 3 years, guys, this fake Russian hoax. And it turns out that there's evidence that come to light that it was actually the Obama administration that was spying on the Trump campaign, that was spying on Mike Pence. They were actually the ones doing the Russian hoax dirt, not Trump. But that's what's called gaslighting. So don't let those polls discourage you, guys. Learn your lesson. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. You remember that saying, right? So just don't let the polls trick you again. Let the polls trick the Democrats again. Let the polls trick the left again. Except this time around, President Trump is going to be on his way out. He ain't going to have no second term to worry about. So you think Trump was aggressive this first term? Oh, wait till you see how he's going to govern when he's got nothing to lose. Oh, I can't wait for that, dude. If Trump got done everything that he got done in this first 4-year term without thought of how it could affect his second term, just wait until he gets that second term, dude. It's going to be off the charts. So finally, I will close with debates overall. The vice presidential debates, I think they made us look good. I really do. I think Mike Pence did a great job. Anybody that was at the watch party with me last night, we kept yelling and shouting. I kept saying, come on out, Killer Mike. Come on, Killer Mike. And Killer Mike came out a couple times. Pence is a little bit more soft-spoken for my preference. I wish his energy levels were a little bit higher. I wish he was a little bit more aggressive, but he's a great guy. I just wish he was a little bit more aggressive. I do feel like, again, it's always going to be 2-on-1. I literally, guys, ask my friend Ty, he'll tell you, I literally pulled out my phone timer, and I timed Kamala Harris and I timed Joe Biden. Kamala Harris would be getting like 2 minutes and 30 seconds, 2 minutes, 45 seconds. And then when it was Pence's turn, he'd get like 1 minute and 50 seconds. Right at the 2 minutes, she's like, "Okay, thank you, Mr. Vice President, thank you. As soon as Biden would get Harris up against, or as soon as Pence would get Harris up against the ropes on something, as soon as he would start taking it to her and just destroying her, the moderator would step in and protect her. Okay, thank you, Mr. Vice President, thank you. But she didn't do that to Kamala Harris, though. She let Kamala Harris go way over. She never stopped Kamala except for a couple of times. And basically, that's my thoughts on the debate. For anybody who thinks that Joe Biden was treated unfairly, by Trump, the guy gives as good as he gets, guys. Go back and watch the 2012 debates when Joe Biden debated Paul Ryan. You think Trump interrupted Biden? Go back and watch the 2012 vice presidential debate with Joe Biden against Paul Ryan, and he was an absolute jerk. He gives as good as he gets. I'm not saying two wrongs make a right. Trump shouldn't have interrupted him the way he did. But Joe Biden ain't some innocent, wounded little kitten either that everybody's making him out to be. This little Trump victim. Oh, the president was so mean to him. Matter of fact, go back to 2008 debates when Vice President Joe Biden debated Sarah Palin, John McCain's running mate. Did you know that Joe Biden got debate coaching from a female? He had a female debate coach just so he could know how to debate a woman. And he turned on the waterworks. He started crying when he talked about his son, Beau, killing himself. And I know that's a sensitive topic. I mean, who wouldn't talk about that? But I didn't sense a genuine, I don't know. It didn't seem genuine. It seemed very rehearsed and forced and manufactured when he talked about his son dying. And I think he rehearsed that. I think it was in his notes to bring it up because he's debating a woman. So he had to be emotional, right? He has to turn on the waterworks so he doesn't come across as some macho, masculine guy that's being mean to a woman. And I don't think he should have used his son's death to make an emotional statement like that just because he's debating Sarah Palin. You guys can both go back and watch both those debates if you have the time or interest. So anyway, guys, those are my thoughts. I haven't been doing a lot of videos lately because I've been very busy, but I promise I will make it up to you. This is a longer video than normal, so I'm making up for the lost time of not making the regular videos I've been making. But stay tuned, guys. The Bobby Hesley Show's coming. I've got some equipment I'm ordering that's on back order. It's kind of holding things up because COVID-19 basically has interrupted a lot of things with shipping and things like that. But it's coming, guys. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about everything. I'm going to go places nobody else is willing to go. I'm going to talk about things that nobody else is willing to talk about because that's just who I am and that's what I do. So I love you guys. Share your thoughts below. Joe Biden is not Catholic. Don't let anybody else tell you different. And I will see you guys on the next video. God bless. Bye-bye.